Hey everybody, welcome back. Casual Coaster Enthusiast here. We're back in Planet Coaster 2 with the series, which I still don't have a name for, but basically the idea is I'm rebuilding the Planet Coaster blueprints with a focus on a realistic layout. Today we're building the very compact, this is a B&M floorless, it's called Minder in the game. So I'll cut back, we'll do a quick POV, and then I'll just walk through the layout, see what works, what could be changed. So I'll do all of that, and we'll start with the POV, so I'll cut back with that. Alright, so this is kind of an interesting layout. So we start off with a Jojo Roll, turning around into the lift hill. You do see Jojo Rolls have popped up on a few coasters. They're not super common. I think the most relevant one for this is Hydra at Dorney Park, because that's also a B&M floorless, so I think that's going to be kind of the most useful reference for this. So what I would do is, with Hydra, that's on a slight, it's a little bit steeper than this, but it's a slight downward angle. And that also turns around into the lift. Now what you typically see on B&Ms, before you get the lift hill, they have a short, a block break section essentially at the base of the lift. And feel free to correct me if my information is wrong, but the best I've been able to figure out is that is roughly half, I want to say, of the full train length, just as a point of reference. So that's kind of what we would be going for. Now the lift, this looks to me like it wants to be like the very newer B&Ms in general have a drop straight off the lift, where on older B&Ms you'll have a little bit of a pre-drop before the turn. And so that's kind of what this layout is looking like it wants to do to me, so to me that's what we would be looking for. So we would hit the lift into a pre-drop, and then this turnaround is a little unusually profiled. I would do, and I'm trying to think what the best reference for this would be. Most, and especially older B&Ms, tend to have sort of a continuous curve on the drop. Not all of them do. You'll see what this has, where you have sort of a turn into more of a straight drop. You'll occasionally see that, but it's, in my understanding, rare compared to just the continual curved drop. But I don't actually dislike that, so maybe what we do is the turn would dip down like it is, but then it would sort of start to pull back up and sort of rise back up into the straight drop. I mistakenly clicked on that. But yeah, so I would try to lower the drop as close to ground level as we can get. I don't mind the profiling on this turn around. It's a little bit unusual. I would guess maybe it's supposed to be sort of a Stengel dive kind of maneuver. But then I would pop up. You see a little bit of a break here. Let me actually edit the coaster to see if this is supposed to be a block break, which I would assume it is. That's just friction brake. So I would add a mid-course brake run in here. Sort of just hop back up before turning down and into this. I think it's kind of weird profiling. It's sort of like half corkscrew, half Heartline roll. It's almost, I want to say it's almost like half demonic knot. It's which is kind of like this 0G corkscrew thing. But I think, and I know this because I was recently watching a video about the newer Six Flags Great America, their newer dive coaster, Wrath of Rakshasa, which does have a sort of a demonic knot maneuver in there, and some of the profiling on that is similar to what you see here. So it's not unheard of, but it's like very, very drawn out for, you know, what I would expect. So we can take a look at the profiling on there. And then we have this Airtime hill, which is going to stay just so the layout resembles. And then you have like one final corkscrew before turning around into the brake run. So that's the layout. I'm going to get a new coaster set up, and we'll try to recreate this layout and see what happens with that. So I'll be back shortly with that. Alright, so I am back. Catwalk is off. So I do have the coaster set up. The colors are changed, so they should be correct. And if we set the banking offset to around 5 feet, I believe that is correct. Then we want to dip down into our Jojo Roll. And I did set up, I know the station looks a little bit oversized. That is something I've noticed with this game, but I did set up the trains to have the proper 8-car, or I did set up the coaster with 8-car trains, which is what you would typically see on a B&M. So I did set that up, and then if we do our Jojo Roll, and yeah, I think we have that correct. That's good. Let's see how that does. That's fine. There we go. That looks better. So I should move this up, and I will in a little bit. Just raise it up so that we get some of the footers on here. That's so yeah, I will do that now. Raise it up slightly so it's not directly at ground level. That's probably fine. If we go back to editing. And since if we were going to do a newer generation B&M, I might, actually, maybe 33 degrees. I tend to, because I like to do angle snap at variations of 11.25 degrees, I find 22.5 degrees is good for a lot of older style coasters. It's fairly shallow. I've sort of figured out that when you make older like Aero style or Vekoma, the in-game supports for those, the in-game custom supports for those are like really shallow. But for things like B&Ms and like older Intamins and stuff, I tend to like to go with 22.5, and we can make that. There we go, that should be good. Now, if we want to do this, yeah, I think 45 degrees is a little tight. There we go. And yeah, this is just filling out, and I think that's good. Yeah, I think we want to go like so. Well, that's that, and then we want to do this goofy sort of Stengel dive turnaround kind of maneuver. Well, this is fine. Then we want to sort of start turning, I think, like that. Oh yeah, I want to go back. Yeah, I did turn off the ankle snap, so the brake run should be a slight incline now. I'm going to turn the catwalk off, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the angle snap back on, and we can finish building. Alright, so I have ankle snap on, just coming off the brake run, so we can sort of drop it down a little, or drop into the turnaround. That seems to be good. So we are coming off of that, and we are running right into the blueprint. So I am going to go ahead and move our version off to the side, and I was testing it while I was off screen. While I had cut away, I was testing the coaster, and the pacing is maybe a little bit off, so we'll see how it does. I might need to go ahead and adjust some of that, but we will see if I go ahead and edit. And so, how do you want to wrap this up? I think we could do something like this. So I do think we will want to adjust the height of some of these. I'll go through and test to see exactly how it stacks up, but if I go to edit mode, I'm going to start building backwards. Turn the catwalk on, make it a block break. Okay, that's fine, I think. If I go to edit mode again, So I will go ahead and lower this at least, so that we're at. I want to. Go to edit mode. And I do want to lower this until so go to construction mode. That's fine. So I'm going to cut out, and I'll go ahead and smooth the coaster, and then we'll take a ride on this when I have everything ready. I'll be back soon. Alright, I am back. And, I accidentally opened up the terrain tool, but I'm actually fairly happy with how this turned out. There's a goofy profiling issue on this turnaround here, just before the mid-course brake run. But other than that, I was off screen smoothing, and I tested it, and I'm actually really happy. The pacing is fairly reasonable for, you know, what I ended up doing. So just to walk through, we have the Jojo Roll. Actually, I should open this. Open up the coaster editor, because I could have sworn. Turns out it's not, but I could have sworn I had made those block brakes, but that's fine. So then we have that into the lift hill. Old school B&M style pre-drop into a turnaround, which I'm actually, you know, maybe the profiling on that is a little bit questionable, but it takes it with a decent amount of speed, so I think that's totally fine. We have this overbanked turnaround into the brake run, mid-course brake run, I should say. Turnaround into a Heartline roll, into another turnaround that drops down into the Airtime hill, and then we round off with a corkscrew, sort of a high-speed, high-banked turnaround, and then a hop up into the final brake run. So we can go ahead and hop on for a test ride, but I'm really happy with the layout. Is sort of a weird hybrid of classic B&M design, and like especially this Heartline roll after the mid-course brake run feels like a much more modern design element, but like other than that, I think this is a fairly solid ride. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So yeah, let's hop on and let's take a ride. that is our take on, what do they call this? Minder. So yeah, like I was saying before we did the POV, I am really happy with how this turned out. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. But I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.